Welcome back into Climbing the Summit podcast, where the ultimate summit is self-discovery, self-realization. I'm your host, Danny Cobbin. Happy to have you here. Thanks for spending a little time with me. And this weekend, I was reminded, and that's the key here, reminded what it means that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Because I have been a part of my 200, 300 hour yoga teacher training, which to me almost looks like a year at this point. 500 hours is quite a bit of time. And what's interesting is I wanted at one point I wanted to feel like I was in college again. I want to feel like I, was going out to get a master's degree. And that's exactly what my 300 hour feels like. But anyway, I was at Red Rocks, and at Red Rocks, I met up with a lot of my cohort, if you will, right? Like, so Kat, one of our teachers, was on stage. She was teaching. Nadal in our class was on stage doing if she said left, he was doing right. And if she said right, he was doing left. And then we had a few of our classmates in the audience. And then Brandon brought his trailer by, and because he brought his trailer, we ended up grilling out. He made French toast. People bought parfait ingredients, and we just sat down, we talked, and we enjoyed things. And it was the first time having the 200 and 300 hour together. So there's several people like from my class who have been teaching for 4 months or so. And then there's people in my 300 hour who have been teaching forever. And so it's this beautiful mix of us introductory coaches and teachers, where I am on the journey because I went to get the master's versus just continuing to go out into the field. And the biggest difference is putting together workshops. And that's why we're talking today is fear, right? My last yoga weekend, there was a moment where Irene went, one of the people in my class, and when Irene went, she handed us paper. She was talking about the vagus nerve, and it was magical. And what I mean by magical is you could tell she loved the subject. You could tell she cared about the subject. You could tell that it resonated with her. And then I took things home. Here goes one of the things that you could take home from Irene's workshop. The vagus nerve runs through the lat area, right? So if you hug, doesn't matter which side, the lat area, and then you take the other hand and you're putting it over that trap, vagus nerve on both sides, you can really give yourself a hug there. And as you could hear, it's just like that deep exhale because you actually feel that warmth of your own hug. Pretty cool stuff. And I was nervous after that, right? Because I hadn't put together anything really, and I had never had the experience of having to continually put things together. Yes, I put together some programs early on in my life coaching. People didn't show up, and I was nervous. So I was like, I guess this isn't the direction that I need to go. And I just want to point out how on your journey, you will see some of the same things over and over again, like programming, for instance. When I was doing my personal training at the lab, the big thing was writing your own programs. I always would go to Josh or whoever it was and ask them for their programming so that I didn't have to really make my own. They spent more time in the field. They spent more effort in time and attention. So I thought, hey, I'll just go through some other people who already know, and I won't have to focus my attention on that. And here we are in yoga, and I'm having to write my own flows. Yes, I could go through the journey into power sequence. Definitely can do that, but it's really cool to sit with something for a while, right? So last week, I had my Thursday class. I'm going through the flow. I talked to a few people after. I notice, I'm like, what's off about the class, right? And this is how we work, right? What's off about the class? We notice what's off is what's a Vin 1 versus a Vin 2? Vinyasa, which is a style of yoga that a lot of you are familiar with, where it's linking breath to movement. that Venn style 1 versus 2. So after I asked Mimi, and we're getting back to the story, right? I asked Mimi, what's the difference, the owner of Sunny Isles? What's the difference between Venn 1 and Venn 2? And she's like, Venn 1 is more accepting. A lot of people may not know what's going on. So because they don't know what's going on, you want to explain things a little bit more. I talked to another coach. They're like, yeah, you want to slow it down a little bit. You don't want to just inhale, exhale. And so going back to the yoga weekend where I was really struggling because I was like, I don't really know about the chakras. My fault. It's chakras. I don't really know much about them. So I've been researching on the solar plexus chakra, which is the third chakra, which is yellow. Seed sound is Ram. There's a specific mudra that goes with it. And I didn't feel connected to that information. So it was empowerment, the Manipura chakra inside and out. Everybody's like, I wanted a little bit more Manipura stuff because you could just Google everything that I put. But they were like, the other stuff connected. Why this stuff mattered to you connected, but the thing that you showed us didn't connect. And that resonated with me. So then, go in two different directions with it, right? Do I want to go full bore into empowerment? Yeah, that's one idea. But a different idea is to actually learn more about the chakras, and actually meditating on them, actually spending time with those things. And that's actually what I've started to do. And because I've started to spend time with meditation, the chakras, understanding the colors, the sounds, the things that go with it, I've started to see a difference with the different chakras, right? So the root chakra, right, the one that's the first chakra, it's red and it's associated with earth. And because it's associated with earth, it's fascinating because it's our grounding, right? Like chakras meant nothing to me a few weeks ago. But when we start talking about the energy body, which is something that is akin to, in a way, when we start talking about the conscious body, right? Like consciousness, where does it sit? How does it work? If I can better understand how the energy inside of our bodies flow, I can be of greater service to not just myself, but to my clients and those around me. And so I just want to share with you guys some of these things, right? Like, yeah, I had this fear, this anxiety build up inside of me. Did my speech, things went as good as they were going to go. And then I come to my class last week. And, I'm so focused on just the flow that I'm not noticing these other things, right? It's like working out. It's like a whack-a-mole kind of deal, parenting, working out, podcast. Everything we do has this like whack-a-mole element to it where it's like, am I breathing right? Am I standing right? Am I looking right? Am my arms right? Am I moving right? And yoga, life, this whole whack-a-mole thing gives me opportunity to notice, gives you the opportunity to notice when we can slow down, right? I wrestled with telling you guys this about driving, but I've been in traffic the last few times I've been out and about, right? Like that's being in the big city. And in that traffic, I have, instead of being like, oh, let me go, I've started to give myself space between me and the car in front of me, especially when there's a car behind me that's doing the whole space thing too. And what ends up happening is instead of driving 5-10 miles an hour, we're able to drive 25-35 miles an hour. Now, you might be saying I'm one of the people who mess up traffic. You might be saying that. That might be true. But I have noticed that the space, and when the people around me start seeing the space, it looks like they start adapting to, well, we're all going the same direction. Nobody's getting in there any faster than anybody else. Let's see if we could just slow down, get out of that rush. I don't know if they're thinking that, but that's what I assume. That's what it feels like. But that I don't allow that to change or affect me. But why I'm telling you that is the space component. When you begin to notice the space component in your life, yeah, you might get anxious. Yeah, you might get fearful. Yeah, you might not know which direction you're going to head next. But ultimately, knowing that the thing that you need, the next step that you need, the next breadcrumb that you need will show up when you need it. And all you have to do is allow for that. Yes, there are some things you have to do. You have to go out. You have to live your life. You have to go for the things you want to do. You have to do the best that you can and not know until the situation occurs whether you've done enough or not. And that's it. It's like that fear of or worry or whatever is this feeling of, did I do enough before? And only I know that. Only you know whether you did enough before. And if you did do enough before, showing up to the event, showing up to whatever it is, life, you're saddled with this beautiful feeling of knowing that you've done everything that you possibly can. And that moving forward on your journey is going to turn out however it needs to turn out. That's the cool thing about keep taking the next step on your journey is what you begin to see is the next one, and the next one will show up for you, whether you're fearful or not. And if you're fearful and you stop doing something, you'll find yourself 3, 5, 7, 10 years later doing the same thing, wishing in some way that the 5, 10, 7 years ago, you had put that time and attention into that thing that you were trying to skip out on. Now, how do you know which one of those things it is? You just begin to notice. That's the beautiful thing about yoga. That's the beautiful thing about being in the gym, going for hikes, spending time working on who you are, whether physically or mentally. The cool thing is you start to see that every mistake, everything that goes wrong, you have overcome. You can look in your own life right now and you'll notice that every situation that you freaked out about 5, 10, 15 years ago, in some form or fashion, you're not freaking out about now. What's that about? Right? But in the moment, it feels like the right thing to do is to freak out. But if you just look back on your experience, you will notice that if you just commit to who you are in the moment, you can jump from here, not the place that you think that you are. You guys have a great day. Keep climbing towards your personal summit, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.